So, new technical regulations for 2022 reintroduced ground effects into Grand Prix machinery, causing a number of teams to experience porpoising or aerodynamic stalling. Now, bouncing was common at the start of the season as squads attempted to fix the issue without sacrificing ride height and thus performance. Changes were proposed around the time of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix after Lewis Hamilton suffered a back injury and Pierre Gasly underwent an MRI scan due to the intensity of the phenomenon in Baku. The FIA has been involved in attempting to reach a compromise that improves safety while not penalising teams that are not affected by porpoising. Horner, whose Red Bull team has been less affected, is confident that his team will adapt. The new rules to combat porpoising present teams with both short-term and long-term challenges. Tougher checks on skid blocks and plankwear will be implemented beginning with the Belgian Grand Prix, with another controversial change set for 2023. Now, all teams' ride heights will be raised by 15mm, a compromise from the original 25mm suggested. But given their history, Horner believes Red Bull will be well positioned to deal with the changes. A compromise needs to be found, but it's a little bit of a tricky one because that regulation change is massive. It changes the whole concept of the aerodynamics, and it's tricky for the FIA because where do you draw the line? While there is a safety obligation of the FIA to look into, where does that line stop? Do we need to seek permission to go from slicks to wet or wet to slicks? If we hit a curb or not? You've got to be very careful about the unintended consequences of these things. Now, after the 15mm ride height increase had been agreed, Horner struck a confident tone. 15mm is not as good as leaving it alone, but it's not as bad as the 25mm that was originally suggested. It's a compromise that we're just going to have to incorporate for next year. We'll just have to deal with it and find a solution. That's what we've been good at over the years, and we'll just have to do that with this challenge. Horner, however, isn't just confident for Red Bull's short-term prospect, they're in it for the long haul. The Milton Keynes base team has committed heavily to designing and manufacturing its own power units for the next set of F1 regulations, which will begin in 2026 as part of a major investment. Its new Red Bull Powertrains division is already operational, and the team has attracted some well-known Mercedes figures to help drive its plan forward in preparation for a possible partnership with Porsche. This included Ben Hodgkinson, the division's new technical director, who had been head of mechanical engineering at Mercedes high-performance powertrains since 2017 after a 20-year career with the German manufacturer. According to a recent report, Red Bull has also recently signed the highly respected Phil Prue, who's perhaps best known for being Lewis Hamilton's race engineer at McLaren for his first world title in 2008. Prue, who was Mercedes' chief engineer at its power unit division in Brixworth, has a long history in Formula 1, including a nearly 2-decade stint at McLaren. It's also believed that Prue is not the only recent signing from Mercedes, with its thermo-fluid simulation team leader Nigel McKinley also expected to join Red Bull. Speaking about the appointments, particularly the signing of Prue, Horner stated that the caliber of talent on board demonstrated his squad's ambitions. I'm delighted that Phil is going to be joining the team. He has a phenomenal track record and he's been a key component of Mercedes' recent success. It's another statement of intent of where we want to be with the power unit. I think that we've assembled great strength and depth within the business. It's fantastic to see it really coming together and coming to life. Phil's one of the few key signings recently that adds to the very talented group of people that we've already assembled. Now, while Red Bull and Porsche are close to an agreement, the partnership will not be formally confirmed until the FIA finalises the 2026 engine regulations, which is expected to happen during the summer break. However, 2026 is still a long way off, and Red Bull still has a championship to contend with this year. However, they do have a plan in this regard, though F1 fans may not like it. Verstappen has an 80-point lead over Charles Leclerc in the drivers' standings, having won 8 of the season 13 races to his closest rivals 3. However, those results could have been reversed or even tipped more heavily in Leclerc's favour if not for a painful run of misfortune between the Spanish and Hungarian Grand Prix. During that 8-race streak, the Monegasque only won once, but he could have had 6 more victories if not for engine failures, strategy errors, and a crash caused by his own error. Because Ferrari's car is still competitive with the Red Bull, Verstappen cannot be guaranteed to win until the end of the season, and thus his teammate Sergio Perez could come into play. Perez won the Monaco Grand Prix with Verstappen third, but if the Mexican finds himself directly ahead of his colleague on the road at any point in the future, he may be asked to move aside, according to Horner. The team will just do the best we can to maximise each result, each opportunity we have. Max is in a strong place in the Drivers' Championship, but we've seen how things quickly turn around. We're taking nothing for granted. There's still such a lot of racing still to do and a sprint race still to come. We will treat each weekend as we've done so far this year and look to maximise our points versus our competitors. But don't sigh just yet. On the surface, Red Bull doesn't appear to require such drastic measures. Verstappen could afford to take a longer summer break, miss the next 3 races, and still lead the championship, even if Leclerc dominated each of those weekends. The reality is that Red Bull will have to return to the unreliability that plagued them in the first 3 races of the season for their title chances to be jeopardized to the point where Perez would have to play the team game. And let's not forget, Perez has been trailing Verstappen on the road as of late anyway. However, the scenario could come into play if Verstappen receives an engine-related grid penalty, which appears to be unavoidable. He needed a full power unit change between qualifying and the race at the Hungarian Grand Prix, putting him at the season's quota limit, and so he'll have to fight his way through the pack and pass Perez as well. The resurgence of Mercedes, on the other hand, also has the potential to derail Red Bull's title hopes. The Brackley-based team had a difficult start to the campaign, struggling to keep up with their opponents during the early rounds. However, there have been signs of progress in recent races, and the team is now only 30 points behind second-place Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship. As a result, many in the paddock believe that the battle for first place will heat up in the coming Grand Prix. With 3 teams in the mix, Red Bull faces a double-edged sword. While they may benefit from Mercedes taking points away from Ferrari, the same could happen to them. Combined with their newfound understanding of their car, the new technical directive could also equalise the front-running teams, making it easier for them to catch up. Aston Martin reserve driver Nico Hülkenberg recently discussed the possibility, predicting that the picture will change as the season progresses. I'm sure that the field will even be closer for the rest of the season. Mercedes is working hard and successfully to reduce the lead of Ferrari and Red Bull. At Silverstone, the team was close to its first victory, and in France, Mercedes scored its first double podium this year. In the second half of the season, we can expect some exciting 3-way battles between those top teams. The Silver Arrow's progress has been highlighted by a streak of 6 consecutive podium finishes leading up to the summer break, with Lewis Hamilton and George Russell both finishing the top 3 in France and Hungary. Russell also shone in qualifying, taking his first F1 pole position. But despite maintaining a constant presence near the front of the field, Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff refrained from declaring the team is back in contention for race victories. When asked if the performance in Hungary signaled Mercedes' return to the fray, Wolff said, "I don't know. I don't want to say suddenly we're right back in the game now and can win races, because I don't think that's the case. We landed well in Budapest on Saturday and we reaped the results, but I don't think we're close enough to Ferrari and Red Bull to really fight them as of yet. But lots of learning, and it's important to get wrong also." So, what are your thoughts? Will Mercedes be a front runner when F1 resumes after the summer break? Do you believe Christian Horner's claim that the technical directive will have no effect on Red Bull? And should they consider using team orders to secure Verstappen's title? We'd love to hear from you in the comments section below. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel, and don't forget to click the bell button to be notified of future videos.